wake up, it's time to be free. Wake up, was blind, now I see. Wake up, it's time to be me. Wake up, my mind is the key.
Wake up, it's time to be me. Wake up, my mind is the key.
Welcome. It's Julian Gordon here with another episode of the Daily Jules, where I drop nuggets of wisdom that help you increase your degrees of freedom. I don't care how many college degrees you have. The only degree that really matters is your degree of freedom. It doesn't matter how much money you make. What really matters is how you actually make money. And so today we have a great question from Nofizia, who is in the process of making an offer on a business. And she's having a meeting with her attorney soon, and she's just looking for some advice. Now, I've never particularly bought a business, but I'm going to share my thought process in terms of how I would evaluate a business, because I have considered buying businesses before. And so, one, I'm just excited for you, Nofizia, because this is beautiful. A lot of people want to be entrepreneurs and they want to take an idea from their head and they want to build it from scratch. But because that's sexy to say that I started this, I'm the founder, right? And then there's people who are on the other end who wouldn't buy a laundromat, right? Wouldn't buy a laundromat that is cash flowing $20,000 a month because it's not sexy. And so to see you out here saying, you know what, I'm going to skip that hard part. I'm going to take a little hit because I'm actually going to have to buy the business, because that founder went through the sweat equity of starting it up. But I see some opportunities in it that are going to cause it to expand. I'm going to go through that approach, and that is an equally viable approach. And so I'm excited for you in this upcoming meeting with your attorney. So to think about this particular process, One, I am going to, first and foremost, you want to find a similar contract. So hopefully your attorney has done this before and has a similar example that you can use. So I'll give you an example with my leases, right? When I'm doing leases in a new state, whether it's my home's in New Orleans or California, I ask the property manager for a model example, and then I look at it, I evaluate it, and I say, I want to change this language here, and here to make sure that I'm protected. Right? So you want to find a similar contract first to start off with base, because if you just start off a contract without the legal mind, you're going to miss all kinds of things. This is why legal contracts are so thick, because they think through every single loophole and possible thing that can happen. So you want to find a model contract rather than you and your husband actually going through a Google document and just trying to think about those things there yourself. There are people who bought businesses before. Those contracts exist. You may have to buy one online, but don't start from scratch. Okay. So the other thing is you want to find someone who has bought a similar business. Find someone who has bought a similar business. And the reason you want to do this is you want to see, you want to learn from their experience, right? Perhaps you aren't networked in that way where you can find someone who has bought a business, but there's so much you can learn from this process, because how you acquire this business can set the tone for how it moves forward. You want to ask this person things like, how was your first 100 days? How did you approach that? How did you build a relationship with the existing team? How long did you keep the initial founder around before they stepped away in entirety? How did the transition process go? Right? These are things that you want to ask, because that transition from the moment you buy is really, really key. It's really, really key to your ultimate long-term success. Right? How you establish credibility with the people who are working there, and also understanding what metrics are most important to look at when you first get into the hard drive of that business, right? When that founder passes you the computer with all the documents in it, what are the things that you need to dig deep for that you didn't have in advance of the process? You also need the financials. And if I were you, I would go back at least 3 years. You need the financials, right? You need to see, and I don't know if your attorney can actually see this. You're probably going to need an accountant to look at these financials and make sure that they're accurate. Because what you don't want to happen is for you to go in and buy a company, and though they've been reporting to the IRS that they were this profitable, right? You actually see that there were some owner draws and things of that nature, and they're actually only this profitable. Because you're likely going to be buying that company on a multiple of their cash flow, right? Their annual cash flow. So let's say that business is cash flowing $100,000 per year. You may look at industry standards and say, I can buy this for 3x, so I'm going to pay $300,000 for this company. But what if 100,000 is not their actual cash flow, though that's what's been on their tax return? So in addition to your attorney, I think you need an accountant involved in this buying process so that you make sure that the financials are actually sound, right? That there's no red flags in the financials. Okay, so these are some key things. But in addition to that, so in addition to the agreement, you want to, you and your business partner, you want to be clear on how you want to be clear on your first 100 days, right? And how you are going to grow this. So a lot of people buy business. So for example, let's say I was going to buy a Subway franchise, and I had another one. And I know that these three, I have several other ones, and I know that when I do these three things, it causes this kind of growth. And I walk into this Subway and I look at the financials, I look at how the business is run, and I see that those three things are missing. And I know that if I implement those three things into this Subway, then it's going to have the same kind of growth patterns as the other Subways that I own, right? You want to know how you're going to immediately grow this thing, right? Because you don't just want to buy it at a multiple and just keep it the same, right? You want to buy it and actually expand it and grow it. And so you're looking for those leverage points in the businesses, three knobs that you can turn based on your unique perspective and expertise that the current leadership does not have, or they were missing, they were blind to. You want to have that strategy for the first 100 days to get those things in place. If you ever watch The Prophet, I don't watch too much TV, but shows like that, that's an example of what you are about to do. And hopefully the takeover isn't hostile, right? Hopefully people are amenable to it. Perhaps they have a bad relationship and they're looking for new leadership. But this first 100 days, this plan, and also in order to create this plan, you need to be able to include in your contract all the documents, all the access points that you need in order to create this plan effectively, right? You need to know, you need to have the financials, you need to have the customer list and passwords to the to Salesforce or whatever they're using to manage customers. You need to have suppliers list, all those things that you're going to need to execute this 100-day plan. You need to integrate into the contract, not only what they are, but also the date that you get access to them in full. All right. So if I was thinking about a company and buying it, this is how I approach it. The last thing is, excuse me, looking for the multiplier. I forgot the website where people buy companies. They're out there though. If you type in probably how to buy a business, or you'll probably find it. But you want to be very clear on what the multiplier is for that industry. Some people do, let's say 3x of cash flow or profit, right? This is the multiple or multiplier that you will hear about on Shark Tank. You want to know what your industry standard is. The multiplier is usually bigger if this is a slow changing industry and the revenues have been consistent for the past 3 to 5 years, right? So there's not a lot of change, there's not a lot of disruption, right? And so you can actually be certain that these revenues, if you do nothing, these revenues are going to stay the same, these profits are going to stay the same. But if you're buying it young and there's volatility and uncertainty in the financial statements from these past few years, your multiplier is probably going to be smaller. It might be 2, it might be 3. You say, yeah, I believe that these cash flows or these profits will stay for the next 2 years. But after that, it's uncertain because this is happening, this is happening, this is happening. And you can use that as negotiation chips to get the price down for your actual purchase. So I haven't officially bought a company yet. I have considered buying companies, but haven't found the right one. And so, but this is how I would think about it. You need not only your attorney, you're going to need an accountant, and you also want to find somebody who is a seasoned investor to give you advice on a seasoned investor, particularly in this industry that you're going into, to give you advice on how to accelerate the growth of this business in the first 100 to 365 days. All right. So I hope this blesses you. I'm excited for you. You do not have to start a company from scratch. You do not have to start a company from scratch, right? Yeah, Nofisia might not have founder on her business card, and that's okay. She could put it if she wants. She could rewrite history. That's what did he do? McDonald's dude, right? He pretended like the original McDonald's didn't exist. But if you have some integrity, now you're CEO, you're owner and CEO, and that's perfectly fine, okay? And so go buy that business, but make sure you do the proper research. A lot of small businesses, they haven't done proper documentation of their financials, of all these things that I talked about. And so you might be making a decision in somewhat of the dark, all right? So with that, I wish you the best. I hope it goes well. And for anybody out there listening, consider buying a business instead of starting a business. It's not all about startups. It's about actually finishing, right? And this entrepreneur that is actually selling it to them started something, and now he's in his exit strategy, and they're going to buy it. Nofisia's going to buy it, and it's going to be a startup for her. But then you always want to be thinking about your exit strategy, unless the business is perfectly aligned with your purpose, meaning that is your life's work, and you could end up doing it till the day you die. All right. So with that, I hope this blesses you all, and stay tuned for the next episode of The Daily Jules. Peace. I hope these mindsets, metaphors, and methodologies blessed you. If you desire more freedom, go to getfreenow.com to subscribe to the show on iTunes, YouTube, or Facebook, and get 4 of my best courses in the Freedom School for 100% free.